Jay here for Stretford, Paddock, and this is a quick video looking at one of my favourite topics, Kobbie Mainoo. We thought we'd have a quick chat around Kobbie Mainoo's future. What is going to happen with Kobbie Mainoo next season? Are we buying someone who is going to come and play alongside Kobbie Mainoo in the Manchester United midfield, or is it going to be someone Kobbie Mainoo is vying for with a position in the team? Because there's been a bit of a debate going on social media and in the comments as well when we've done videos recently about just what the future holds for Kobbie Mainoo. I obviously love the kid, but let's get involved in the chat and let's see what exactly the future could look like and just who we're looking at to come into the Manchester United team and how that's going to work alongside Kobbie Mainoo, or is it going to be someone that Kobbie Mainoo is going to be up against when it comes to starting for Manchester United? We go back to the start of Kobbie Mainoo's career at Manchester United. He was one of those youngsters that got into the academy team at quite a young age. I think he was like 15, 16 when he was playing in the under-18s. Obviously, part of the team that won the FA Youth Cup and was earmarked for a very bright future early doors. Erik ten Hag was someone who spoke very highly of Kobbie Mainoo, who had Kobbie Mainoo in and around the first team squad as well. He obviously saw Kobbie Mainoo as being a big part of his future plans and a big part of Manchester United's future plans. And it was when he first made his debut, his Premier League debut for the first team at Goodison Park, that we really saw just what he was about. He'd had a bit of a tough time of it in pre-season because he played very well. I think it was against Arsenal. Then he picked up an injury against Real Madrid in Houston after about 5 minutes. But then he had to wait because of that injury to make his first team Premier League debut until I think it was November at Goodison Park, where he played very well, won player of the match, and everyone was raving about him. And I think it was Adam Crafton who said, look, there's a slim chance here that Kobbie Mainoo could even make the England squad for the Euros. And a lot of people laughed at that, saying an 18-year-old who's making his Premier League debut, he's not going to make the England squad. This is in November. He's not going to make the England squad for the Euros in June. But Adam Crafton was right. We'll get to that in a minute. Kobbie Mainoo's rise was pretty meteoric. He played very well in a number of games, scoring important goals as well. The winner, the late winner against Wolves, of course, a very good goal against Liverpool, and the goal in the FA Cup final, where he also won player of the match against Manchester City. It couldn't have been a much better season, at least in terms of the cup competition, shall we say, for Kobbie Mainoo. We'll forget about the league finish. That wasn't his fault. But certainly, from a personal point of view, it was a pretty fantastic season for him. And it was no real surprise when he sort of gate crashed the Euros squad. What the big surprise was to a lot of people, not so many United fans who knew how good he was the fact that he was able to force his way into the team ahead of the likes of Trent Alexander-Arnold, ahead of the likes of Conor Gallagher, who were both given opportunities before him in that Euros tournament. But he was the one who managed to end up partnering Declan Rice in that England team and carried on playing for England right up until the final as well, starting in the Euros final. An amazing achievement for a player who made his Premier League debut in November to then be starting for England in a Euros final just 7 months later? Absolutely fantastic. Now, the season after that wasn't all plain sailing. There was injuries, there was difficulties for Manchester United on the pitch as well. The team just wasn't achieving and performing at the levels we hoped, and we thought that FA Cup win could kick the team on under Erik ten Hag. We'd been poor in the league that season, finishing 8th. Unfortunately, it wasn't to be for Erik ten Hag, and he was sacked, and Ruben Amorim came in. And at first you think, okay, this is a manager with a reputation for playing youngsters, for embracing youngsters, players like Giovanni Kender, of course, who flourished under Ruben Amorim at Sporting. You thought it should be a good fit, this. However, the system that Ruben Amorim preferred was the sort of, that we know, I don't need to keep going on about it, but it was where you had a double pivot and you had those two number 10s. And even though Kobbie Mainoo did play a lot of football under Ruben Amorim in that first season, he wasn't always first choice. You remember the Manchester derby, of course, at the Etihad, where we got a big win. That late winner from Amad Diallo. Kobbie Mainoo didn't start that game. He came on for the injured Mason Mount. So just a few signs there that perhaps his place in that first team wasn't as assured under Ruben Amorim as it had been under Erik ten Hag. He wasn't helped by a few injuries he picked up along the way as well. But there was still some highs. He got the equaliser in that epic game against Lyon. And you thought, okay, maybe he can end the season on a high, helping us win the Europa League. But that Europa League final kind of summed up where Ruben Amorim's head was with Kobbie Mainoo. He was brought on with 30 seconds of normal time left to play in Bilbao in that final against Spurs. That would have been unthinkable under Erik ten Hag. So you can see already there was some sort of questions around Kobbie Mainoo and his importance to the team under Ruben Amorim. You've got a European final. You lose in a European final. You're 1-0 down. You've got a player there who's got you an important goal en route to that final, and you give him 30 seconds at the end of the game to try and affect it. He obviously didn't see Kobbie Mainoo as that vital as he would have played him in that final. He probably would have started him. That's certainly what Eric Ten Hag did in the FA Cup final when Kobbie Mainoo obviously helped us win it. So then you go into next season. There's a lot of expectation, not just on Kobbie Mainoo, but on the team in general. We finished 15th. We've lost the European final. A lot of people, myself included, say, okay, let's see what Ruben Amorim's about. Let's give him time. Let's be patient. In pre-season, we saw Kobbie Mainoo playing in a midfield for one of those games. I think it was the game against West Ham where he was tried alongside Manuel Ugarte. There was all sorts of different combinations tried during pre-season as well. But you'd expect Kobbie Mainoo to feature, to play a prominent part for Ruben Amorim. After all, this is a player who's scored important goals for Manchester United, has been player in the match in important games for Manchester United, has helped Manchester United win trophies, and has become not an England regular, but an important part of the England squad. However, Ruben Amorim didn't see it that way, and Kobbie Mainoo didn't get much game time under Ruben Amorim in Ruben Amorim's what turned out to be his last season. It was only the game against Grimsby that Kobbie Mainoo started. He didn't start any Premier League games under Ruben Amorim this season. And when he did play, a lot of the time, it was just cameos. It was 20 minutes here, 5 minutes here, 10 minutes here. There wasn't a lot of game time. I think it wasn't until that start against Manchester City under Michael Carrick where Kobbie Mainoo actually played over 45 minutes in the Premier League. So he had struggled for game time under Ruben Amorim. It was obvious that Ruben Amorim didn't really fancy him as an important player in this team, as he would have played him at least once or twice. He would have started him. And that's when the question marks around Kobbie Mainoo started. It was people saying, okay, and I never bought into this, but these were the conversations that some people were saying, is, has he got the legs for the Premier League? Is he physical enough for the Premier League? Is he quick enough for the Premier League? We were linked with players like Carlos Baleba, who's a very physical player. Do we need someone like that to make this work in this system? And it got worse when we had that sort of purple patch under Ruben Amorim. You remember when he won Manager of the Month, and we won those games. We won the game against Liverpool at Anfield, of course. We beat, I think it was Brighton at Old Trafford. We beat Sunderland. We had this run. Brian Mbeumo was Player of the Month as well. And people looking at it going, okay, if Ruben Amorim's getting it right, if things are working right, working out how he wants them to, and Kobbie Mainoo's not playing, maybe Kobbie Mainoo's future lies elsewhere. Not everyone was saying that, I hasten to add. However, there were reports and rumours that Kobbie Mainoo was unhappy and was looking for a move. A low move rather than a permanent move. This wasn't helped by the fact he still hadn't signed a new contract. There was all these different reports going around that the new contracts hadn't been agreed upon, that he was asking for too much money. So there was pushback on that, saying he wasn't asking for too much money. It all got a little bit weird on what was happening with Kobbie Mainoo, a player that for the first sort of 18 months of his Manchester United career had been pretty much the golden boy for a lot of us Reds. So there was talk of him maybe going out on loan in the January to someone like Napoli. Chelsea was sniffing around as well. It didn't seem like Kobbie Mainoo had a much of a future, at least this season, for Manchester United. That all changed when Ruben Amorim got sacked. As soon as Ruben Amorim went into the press conference post Leeds United at Ellen Road and said what he said, his United career was effectively over and Kobbie Mainoo's was effectively reborn. He was given an opportunity under first Dan Fletcher, but then Michael Carrick. And under Michael Carrick, we saw the Kobbie Mainoo that we know and love, especially in that game against Manchester City. Saw him dancing past Semenya that got everyone off their seats at Old Trafford. Everyone was loving that clip that did the rounds. Played very well. Was covering more ground than I think any player on the pitch. And then people began to look at Kobbie Mainoo. Some of the people that had been doubting him began to realise just how effective and important he can be to Manchester United. Followed by another good performance as well at the Emirates. Had a hand in the goal too, as Manchester United picked up an important win, a big win over Arsenal. Since then, we've seen other good games. Other games where his stats have showed how important he has been. But we've seen one or two games where people have started questioning him again and saying, okay, Kobbie Mainoo is a good player. There's obviously a lot of talent there, but what system does he fit into? Do you need more legs alongside him? Can he work consistently in a team that is going to be challenging for the title? Now, not everyone is saying that. I hasten to add, I'm certainly not, but it is a conversation that has been going on, especially as we keep getting linked with midfielders. We're linked with Carlos Baleba still. We're linked with Elliot Anderson. We're linked with Adam Wharton. Some people look at other players, the likes of Stiller, for example, over in Germany, as someone who could come in. And some people saying, actually, is Kobbie Mainoo going to be playing alongside these players, or are these players going to be coming in and replacing Kobbie Mainoo? I've got to remember as well, we are going to lose Casemiro. So we're already one midfielder down. Are we going to go out and buy, say, an Anderson and put him alongside Mainoo? Or are we going to go out and buy Anderson and Wharton? We can dream. Or even Anderson and Stiller And is that a situation where there might be rotation? There might be games where Kobbie Mainoo doesn't start. It's an interesting topic, and it's one that's sort of been bubbling under for a little while now. Now, I've nailed my colours to the mast from day one. I absolutely love Kobbie Mainoo. I think he's a fantastic talent. For me, he has to start for Manchester United. But as we keep getting linked with midfielders, as some people look at some of the performances of late and start to question them, Kobbie Mainoo's name keeps causing a little bit of debate amongst certain sections of the Manchester United fan base. So we thought, why not? We'll put it to you. Let us know what you think of Kobbie Mainoo. Do you think that he's destined to start and play regularly for Manchester United for the next decade or even beyond? Or do you think he's a player that might be rotated, that might be someone who plays a lot of games but doesn't play every game for Manchester United? Do you look at the midfielders we've been linked with and think they could do a better job? Do you think there's a combination out there that works perfectly for Manchester United with or without Kobbie Mainoo? Let me know in the chat and the comments about just what you think is the best bet for Manchester United and Kobbie Mainoo. Personally, for me, it's Kobbie Mainoo starting every week. But you may disagree. Let me know. I've been Jay Motti. This has been a little bit of a look at one of my favourite players. Get involved in the chat and the comments, and don't forget to check out the merchandise as well. And as always, thanks for watching.